Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for joining today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to talk about hand positions when it comes to tattooing. By the end of this video, I hope to relay enough information so that way you can click away with some tips and tricks to immediately apply on your end. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below and I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under the same name. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this. I will be leaving my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you in the description below to the gear featured in this video, so that way you can check it out on your end. So hand positions, where to begin? I'm going to go ahead and start from the bare bone basic and just kind of build my way up from there. When it comes to hand positionings, this is something that we as beginners, especially when we're first starting out, that we often don't think about or put very little thought into. So when we are tattooing, we'll often find sometimes that we'll kind of, position our hands in ways that are maybe even a bit awkward and maybe not even beneficial to the application process at hand. And I'm kind of here to explain what some of those may look like and shed a little bit more light on better ways that we can go about positioning ourselves to apply tattoos that may be in more difficult areas. I feel when it comes to hand positioning, it should always feel natural and comfortable, especially when we are creating lines. The motions that we're going to be making should have a sort of natural, systematic feel to them, I feel. So for example, let's say I'm going to be applying this line right here. I feel like I should position myself in a manner that allows me to apply that line in the curved manner that I need to. And I feel like, again, this simple detail right here, putting a little bit more thought into the positioning process here, is something that we're beginners gonna overlook often. And times when we overlook this simple process of making sure that we're comfortably positioned before we commit to a line, when we overlook that, we're resulting in wobbly lines, inconsistent needle depth, everything that beginners may be experiencing. And a lot of our issues could be simply solved with paying a little bit more attention and fine-tuning our posture and our positioning when we apply a line. I kind of feel like that is of the utmost importance. We always want to prioritize our comfort before we commit to applying a line. Every time I am going to commit to a line, my positioning of my hand, you'll notice if you watch time lapse or follow alongs that my hand is never the same. So let's say if I created this line right here like this, I'm not going to stay like that for every single line. I'm actually going to fluctuate. So if I created this thicker line right here, I'm going to go ahead and apply that line, and let's say over here I'm going to fully move myself in a manner that's beneficial for me to apply this line with the most accuracy and stability that I can apply a line with. So comfortability when it comes to hand positions. Another thing that I'm focusing on when it comes to hand positions and tattooing is the comfortability that I have from A to B. So let's say, for example, let's go to this line right here. It is a bit of a longer line. I'm gonna make sure that I position myself in a manner that either allows me to flow from A to B or taper in and out and continue the flow from A to B. A would be my starting point, B would be my ending. If you followed along with me, you hear me talk about A and B a lot. I use that A and B system to help me identify where I'm going to start and where I am going, and I kind of repeat this throughout the entire process. So making sure that my flow is comfortable from A to B also helps me produce cleaner results, and it also helps me be more comfortable along the way. Now this next one, when it comes to hand positioning, kind of varies. So let's say this torso right here was an actual canvas and a real person, and then we're going to have it being raised a bit more to compensate for the organs in the torso, as well as some curvature over here as well. So when we are positioning our hands, depending on where we're tattooing is going to determine how we want to stretch the skin. We can never really forget about that. I'm going to talk about stretching of the skin more in other videos. Before this one, I kind of want to touch base and just kind of surface level in terms of stretching the skin, because it does kind of coincide with hand positioning. So for example, there's a curvature torso right here and it's curving this way. I'm going to want to use a sort of 3-point stretch where I'm using not my fingers. I want to avoid doing this right here, as I mentioned a little while ago. And I'm going to use the palms of my hands to place down, and then I would pull the skin apart and position myself in a manner that has the palm pulling the area and this palm. So that's 1 point, 2 point, and then my 3 point. And then this would be applying like so. So for example, if I was going to be applying this line, how I would position myself is something along the lines of like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my left palm right here to pull this way softly. My right palm, pull this way. And then I'm going to spread my hands like so. So you can see my hands are out of danger. I'm not at risk of poking myself because I'm not like this. So my hands are like that. I have a nice comfortable stretch and my hand can flow from here from A to B. So you can see I'm prioritizing my positioning and my comfort before I'm committing to this line. When it comes to human skin, knowing how to stretch in the appropriate areas is definitely going to help us apply a cleaner tattoo. Just in a nutshell, and I'm going to talk about this more in other videos, but when we don't get a clean stretch on any skin, then the skin's going to bounce, and when it bounces, it's going to bounce off of the needle, and the needle is not going to be hitting in the same area, so the needle is going to microscopically jump around, and you're going to see those sparse inconsistencies on the line work when it's completed, which is what we want to stay away from. Now, it brings me back to my other point about kind of the danger aspects of positioning ourselves incorrectly. Let's say we are using a 3-point stretch and we decide to use these two fingers, my thumb and my pointing, to go like right around here. Allow me to put in a needle so I can better explain. Let's say, and this is going to be an OG Produce 3-round liner. This is the Dragon Hawk Fold Pro 2024 Year of the Dragon Edition version. I have my 3-point stretch, but let's say I'm just starting out and I'm going to be working just in this area right here. Let's say if my technical application was a little bit sparse and my fingers are too close, I run the risk of poking myself, which is something that we want to avoid each and every single tattoo that we do. So you're going to want to avoid positioning your fingers in a manner where they're close together. There's always a better way to stretch the skin, I feel, even if it is a smaller area. I always feel like, for example, if it was just this little area and I needed to stretch the skin, I'm going to use this side of my hands and I'm going to just slightly pull the skin open as I apply the ink there. There's always better ways to go about it, and you can see that my hands, my fingers are completely out of range. So this minimizes any unwanted accidents right here. Hand positioning when it comes to tattooing is very, very important. So just remember that whenever positioning, you always want to try to keep these fingers right here that we would tend to use for stretching away from one another as much as we can. We don't want to do this. We don't want this sort of activity. We want to keep them spread apart for safety reasons, because I feel there are better ways to go about stretching the skin. Here is a silicone hand, for example, so let's take this demonstration a little bit further so you can see that we do have the natural curvature surface that of a human body would offer us. So when we are tattooing, we're definitely always going to want to focus on positioning and prioritizing our comfort and our positionings before we commit to any line and apply any design. I feel like that is the most important aspect. So let's say, for example, if I'm going to be working on the top part right here, I'm going to make sure that I find a position that I am fully comfortable with. How I would apply this design right here is I would use this part of my hand and I would just simply go like this and then pull the skin this way, and as I tattoo, I'm going to use this side of my hand and do the same thing, so that way I could apply the lines or the shading in a manner that I need. And you can see that I do have full motion. You can kind of see that this needle was going towards my finger, so I'm just going to move it aside. It still didn't interfere with my stretch. So you can see I am now figuring out ways to prioritize my positioning when I'm applying tattoos, even on curvature surfaces. That would pretty much apply to any positioning. So let's say, for example, I need to work over here off to the side now. I'm going to ask the client to move their arm this way, and then I'm going to go ahead and position myself in a manner that allows me to work in this area. So let's say, for example, in this area, what I would do is do the same thing. So if I'm going to apply dot work to these areas right here, I'm going to go ahead and pull this way and this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it like so. I would definitely want to stay away from doing it like this, where I just pull this area and do it like that. That's just a little bit too close for comfort for me. When I feel this is a better way is to simply apply myself. And granted, this right here would be a little bit more easier to work with if it was on a human. However, there are multiple ways that I could position myself to minimize risk of poking myself. Here is another way. Let's say, for example, I'll get the client's hand, get these two fingers. It can be index, it could be these three, anyone, pick whichever ones you want to use. I'm going to grab right here, and then I would just simply pull the skin down like in this area. I'm going to grab and then pull it this way to tighten it just a little bit, and then I would begin applying. You can see though that I'm far out of any sort of reach, and I would only be applying dot work right here in this area. Even if it was this area right here with the shading, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and pull both sides of the wrist this way, and I'm just going to do some whip shading like so on both sides to complete this area right here. So the same rule of thumb is, you can see that I'm still constantly prioritizing my positioning and my comfortability before I commit to any part of the design or applying any part of a tattoo. This is to not only minimize dangers, but to optimize my performance and apply the best tattoo that I could possibly apply. I felt like it was important to make this video to kind of show you all why we should take a little bit more time and think about comfortable ways that we can position our hands and safer ways that we can stretch the skin. You'll notice that the methods and tips and tricks I'm sharing with you in terms of different positionings not only applies to flat fake skins, but you're going to see that it applies to pretty much any limb. We could tackle any part of the body with the exact same methods here, just with some minor changes along the way. Obviously, we're always going to have to compensate for certain areas of the body. Let's say we're tattooing behind the ear, then we're obviously going to have to position in correspondence to behind the ear. If we're tattooing a head, we're obviously going to have to position in correspondence to tattooing a head. For example, here's a silicone limb and this is a foot. Let's say if I was going to be tattooing this foot and they wanted something right here off to the side. Obviously, I'm going to ask the client to put their foot this way, so that way off the bat, their foot is positioned in a manner that's more comfortable for my application. From here, it's my responsibility to position myself in a manner that's safe for me and the client, that's also effective in terms of applying the tattoo. I still need to technically apply that tattoo. So you can see here that I'm quickly going to focusing on my positioning and my comfortability before I even start applying. So I didn't just see the design and then just kind of start going. I didn't do that. I stretch the skin this way, and I felt before I committed, if it didn't feel natural, I didn't really feel like I can commit, that I'm going to go ahead and reposition myself in a manner that allows me to feel more confident before I commit. This little variable right here is super important. I feel like taking our time and making better choices, especially in this area, definitely do yield better results. But it is the exact same thing. It's going to apply everywhere. So even if we're tattooing an ankle, you can see that we're only going to be working with this area right here. However, if I were to do that, I'm probably going to stretch it in a bit more of an orthodox manner where I would kind of get my thumb like so, or like this. So whatever benefits me, and again, whatever is more comfortable. There may be ways that are a bit awkward, such as like this, the tattoo areas. If you're comfortable and you're certain that this technique is going to work and you can anticipate the application all the way through, I don't really feel like it's wrong, especially if the application is going to come out and read nicely. But again, we have to prioritize and put some time into finding out what positions are comfortable for us and which ones aren't. Hand positioning, again, is very, very important when it comes to applying clean tattoos. Here is a silicone face, and you're going to see that it's essentially with every single thing. So let's say if I were to be tattooing this area right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to position myself in a manner that benefits my application. So not only do I need to be comfortable when I apply this, so I'm not wobbling, risking poking myself, I also need to be comfortable so that way I could reach the correct needle depths and apply the tattoo in a manner that's going to stand the test of time. This is my logic, thought process. Doesn't matter what limb I am using. As I mentioned a little while ago, it can be a flat surface, it can be a silicone hand, foot, and or a face. The positioning is always prioritized before we begin to commit to any lines. And as beginners, I feel like adopting this early on can help you produce yielded results earlier on, which could help you face less discouragement. You get the idea behind that. And again, I'm going to remember my fundamental rules. I'm prioritizing my safety as well as the client. So therefore, let's say if I'm going to be applying this tattoo, I'm not going to be like this. And I'm not going to go like, I don't really see any purpose in kind of stretching and then just giving myself this much room right here to work with. I want to be able to have free range all in this area. I feel like when I have free range and I can move like this, I can flow easier, providing me with cleaner lines. So what I would do is, instead of using my fingers to go like this and kind of tinker around with it, I'm going to place my hand like this. I'm going to create an L with my left hand. I'm going to get this and then I just kind of pull softly. Keep in mind this is a person's face, so not too difficult. Pull softly with this side of my hand. I'm going to go ahead and pull softly. And then I'm going to begin to apply the design. You can see that I do have full motion from the top of this design all the way over here and around to make any moves that I need. I have full control, so I feel like adding details this way is comfortable. As you can see, this right here is probably an optimal position for me to be working in throughout this entire tattoo. Doesn't matter if I'm using a smaller line weight or a heavier line weight, every single needle that I use, and I will position myself this way for this design because it is in a sensitive area. It is a smaller design that requires multiple line weights and details. That's why I would go about it this way. Again, if I'm doing something bigger, I'm obviously going to have to reposition myself each and every time I create the line just because of the size of the difference. This is a full torso body tattoo as opposed to this is like a more ornamental tattoo on a face. there's definitely going to have to be some sort of compensation between different designs, and that can kind of give a good point as to different ways that we're going to have to adjust along the way. Before we conclude this video, don't forget to prioritize your hand positions. Each and every single tattoo you do, each and every single detail, line, texture, shade that you do, you always want to prioritize your hand positions. I feel like this will be a great place to conclude this video. However, should you have any questions at all, I'm going to encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. You have a great day. Are you wanting to develop your tattooing skill sets? Now you can practice and develop anytime, any place with an assortment of tattooing workbooks that I've created. With these assorted tattooing workbooks, we can practice our basic lining all the way to advanced lining. We can practice shading, shading placement, dot work, textures, and more. All we are going to need is a tattoo workbook of mine. We can use a pencil, pen. We can even use a tattoo machine with a ballpoint cartridge to develop our tattooing abilities further. That means that we don't need tattoo ink, we don't need napkins or petroleum jelly to get to practicing. Simply open one of my tattooing workbooks and get going. It really is that easy. You can get your hands on one of my developmental tattooing assorted workbooks by simply clicking the links in my description or in the pinned comment section below, or navigating on over to Amazon.com, typing in Daniel Yuck, and you'll see all of the assorted tattoo workbooks that I've created come up. If you have an Amazon account, be sure to follow my Amazon author page as well, as I would greatly appreciate your support. Should you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. With that being said, let's get right back into this video. Are you needing or wanting tattoo guidance? What about 4K high quality step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions? Or maybe one-on-one tattoo support to get answers to your questions that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist? You can now become a Patreon where you will gain access to high quality 4K exclusive step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions. I will be tattooing with you in a one-on-one step-by-step manner where I will be explaining what I am doing and why every step of the way. I will also be doing this in a high quality 4K format for your optimal viewing experience. On top of the one-on-one support and on top of the step-by-step tattoo session guidance, you will also gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and place on your end to further develop your skill sets. I will leave a link for you in the description or in the pinned comment section below, or you can head on over to patreon.com/Daniel Yuck. When you become a Patreon, you will be getting one-on-one support where you can ask me as many questions as you'd like that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist. You will gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and practice on your end. You'll also gain access to exclusive high quality 4K footage where I walk you through each and every tattoo session in a one-on-one step-by-step manner where I explain all the what's and why's along the way. Become a Patreon today. Thank you for your support in advance. I greatly appreciate you.